What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Git and GitHub for version control. All right, guys, in this video, we're going to look at version control. We're going to look at Git and GitHub. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube to get $22 off membership. That's all my courses, videos, and books for a one-time fee of just $27, which is insanely cheap. Okay, version control, what is it? Well, anytime you do any kind of coding, you should set up version control. And version control pretty much is what it sounds like. It saves versions of your code, right? So if you're going along and you make a big change and all of a sudden your project just blows up and doesn't work, oftentimes you're not quite sure why. You might have done something you didn't quite understand, or you might have made a typo that you just can't find. With version control, you can roll back to a previous version and everything works great. Version control is also good for working with teams. It will keep track of who makes what changes to the code and when. So if Bob over there does something to screw up our code, it records that and we can see, oh, Bob did something weird. Let's see what he did. It's great for then merging all of those things together. So version control comes with something, it works on branches. Think of it like a tree with branches. So your master branch is the main branch of your code. People can check out your code and make changes and then merge it back into the master. Keeps track of all of that. It's just really great. For people sort of like me, who's more of a solo coder, and maybe you may not be working with a team, version control is still good anyway, because like I said, if you make an error, if you do something weird with your code, you can roll it back to when it worked. It's also just good to keep sort of your code safe, right? So we're going to be looking at GitHub, which allows us to push our Git code up to the github.com website, and it keeps it up there in case your computer burns down, in case your house burns down, in case your computer gets stolen. I've had motherboards that fried before and I've lost everything. If your code is sitting up on GitHub, it's perfectly fine. So GitHub is also good for trying to find a job, right? So you can have your code all public on GitHub. You can keep it private if you want, but you can also, the default is public. So if you're looking for a job, potential employers can go to your GitHub account and look at your code. And they can say, oh, wow, she knows how to do this, this, and this. That's exactly what we're looking for. Let's hire her. Things like that. Recruiters often sort of scan GitHub for coders and then reach out to solicit jobs and things like that. So it's just best practices. It's just an ordinary thing for coders to do. And that's what we're going to look at in this video. So there's two main sort of parts to this video. First, we're going to set up Git, which is the actual version control itself. And then I'm going to show you how to push all your Git repositories, we'll talk about that in a minute, up to GitHub. So kind of two main parts. It's very simple to get started with Git, but it is sort of a convoluted process to get it started the first time. So that's where we're going to start. So I'm on a Windows computer, hopefully you are too, so we're going to need some tools to do this. Now, we need a terminal to save our Git code. And Windows comes with the command prompt, it comes with the PowerShell. Those aren't great for Git. So I'm going to suggest we download a Git bash terminal. So you just go to Google and type in Git bash. Now, if you're on a Linux or a Mac computer, you already have a terminal that works just like this one, and you could just use that. Go up to your little search thing and just search terminal, and it'll pop right up and you can use it. For the rest of us on Windows, go to Google, type Git bash, and let's look through here. What we want is this one right here. It's git-scm.com/downloads. So let's go ahead and click that. And you can see there's a version for Mac and Linux if you just absolutely want to use this. I don't recommend that you do that. Just use the terminal that comes with your Mac or Linux. It works just as well, if not better. And a lot of the commands are going to be the same. I think all of them are going to be the same, so it really doesn't matter. But for us Windows users, go ahead and click this download button. Now, it's version 2.22.0 right now. If that's a different version by the time you watch this video, no big deal. Just download the latest version. Doesn't matter at all. So I'm going to click download. And it's not a very big file, 45 megabytes, I think. And this website can be weirdly slow sometimes with the download. That's no big deal. Save this anywhere. I'm going to save it to my desktop. And you can see, yeah, 45 megabytes. You know, with high-speed internet, that should download like that, but it's taken like, 5 seconds now. It's kind of weird. Pet peeve of mine. It's just this website. It's weirdly slow. But anyway, wait till this finishes downloading, and it looks like it has. So I'm on Chrome, so I can just click it right here to install it. If you're on Firefox, go up here to the top and there should be a little arrow where you can click to see your recent downloads. Either way, click it to install it. And this is a very weird installation. There's like 10 screens, but we just want the default for all of them. So we're just gonna come through here and click next a bunch of times. The only one I will mention is this one right here. It's asking what text editor we're gonna be using. Now I use Sublime Text, but these two don't really interact. So I'm not sure why they're asking what your text editor is. You can click here and find the one that you're using, but you don't have to. Just leave it as Sublime. It doesn't matter at all. Even if you're not using Sublime, no big deal. So click next, 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 next. And then I've already installed this, so I'm not going to click this install button. You'll go ahead and do that to finish the installation. I'm just going to cancel out of this. So to run this, just go to your Windows Start menu and type in Git, G-I-T, or Git Bash, 2 words. It should pop right up, and when it does, it should look like this. Now, if I type in pwd to see what directory I'm currently in, I'm in C users flat planet. This is just my default directory. No, I don't think the world is flat. I just find it hilarious that some people do, so that's what I name my computer. Whatever your computer name is, whatever your logged in account name on Windows or whatever, it'll show up there for that. So that's normal. Now, what we want to do is navigate to wherever your project is. So I'm going to type in cd, which is change directory, and then just navigate to wherever you've saved your project files. I saved mine in, let's see, fake Django, I think. No. Fake project. Okay. So I can ls to see what's in this directory. And now this is a Django project, so I have a virtual environment I need to turn on, so I'm just going to do that right now. I should mention you can use this version control Git for anything. If you're doing PHP, if you're doing HTML, if you're doing JavaScript, Node, Ruby on Rails, Django, Python, anything you're doing, this works for. I happen to spin up a fake Django project because it's really quick and easy. So I'm going to turn on, you won't do this, but I'm going to turn on my virtual environment here. That's a Django thing. Okay, so then I'm going to cd into the actual project itself, which is called Twitterly, a fake clone of Twitter. I didn't actually make this project. It just spun it up really quickly. So this is my project, right? So I could see for Django, you always know you're in your project when you can see the manage.py file. If you're in Ruby on Rails, you would just navigate to whatever directory your Rails project is in. Same thing with Node, same thing with JavaScript, PHP. Any programming language you're using, just navigate to wherever your project is. And we see, I can just type in pwd to see, that's where I'm at. So first things first, we have to initialize Git. Git Bash, the terminal that we're using here, it comes with Git already installed on it, but you have to sort of turn it on for your specific project. And you'll have to do these next steps for every project you create. So anytime you have a new project, you'll do these steps. You only have to do it once per project, but you have to do it for every project, right? It's not like you do it once for your entire computer. You have to do it per project, right? So no big deal. So there are 5 commands we have to type in here to initialize Git, which is weird, but I don't remember what those commands are. I've been doing this 20-something years. I don't remember. I just write it down and just copy and paste it every time. So head over to codemy.com, my website, /Git. And I've just got these sort of listed here. It's these 5 commands right here. We just need to copy and paste them into our terminal. So I'm just going to go through here one at a time and do this. Now the first 2 we need to sort of modify a little bit. So copy, come back over here, right click and paste. So it's git config -- global user.name and then your name. So put your name in here. You're not signing up for anything. This is all on your computer. And it needs your name because, like I said, Git keeps track of who makes what changes to the code and when, so it needs your name to do that. So, all right, hit enter. And then next, do this one. And again, we have to make a little change to this one too. So copy, right click, paste, and enter your email address. Now, I suggest you use a real email address. Use the one that you're planning on using later on when you sign up for github.com. Use that same email address, just seems to make things easier. I don't think you have to, but it just makes it easier. Okay, so that's the first 2. Now we just have to copy and paste the last 3 here, pretty easy. Control C or right click and copy, right click and paste, hit enter. All right, 2 more, copy, paste. It's a convoluted system. I don't remember, like I said, what any of these commands do, but it really doesn't matter. You're always just going to copy and paste them. So write these down yourself or just come back to my website anytime you want to copy and paste these. So the last one is git init. Init stands for initialize. So we're initializing Git. We're turning it on with this last command. So paste. Okay, so you see this right here. Now it says master. In fact, if we clear the screen, it's always going to say master with this sort of, I don't know what color that is, light blue, cyan, whatever that color is. That means Git has been turned on. That's what shows you that Git is working. And it says master because this is now the master branch of your Git repository. And that's how Git works. It works with repositories. It's created a little repository, and now we need to put all of our code into that repository. We've turned on Git, but we haven't put our code in it yet. So to do that, we type in git add period. And this will add everything in this directory. That's why you want to be in your directory that has your project, right? So, okay, you've added everything. The period stands for everything. Now we need to commit that code to the repository. We sort of staged it. Now we need to push it in, right? And to do that, we type in git commit -am, and then quotation marks. That can be single or double quotation marks. Give this a little message. I'm going to say initial commit. It's our first commit. And this is important. This little description here, not so much now, but later on when we push our code up to GitHub, the things you type here will show up on GitHub, and they'll show up only next to the files that are committed. So if later on we make a change to one of our files and we write a little description there saying what we did in that change, so I might say updated index.html, right? Well, next to the index.html file at GitHub, it'll say that little thing right there. And it's a really nice way to, at a glance over at GitHub, look at your code and see the changes over time based on these little descriptions that you type in. So we always want to do that. I don't remember what the -am stands for, but we always do that. And that's it. Now we're done. So it has committed all of these files into our Git repository, but it's committed them into our local repository on this computer. And that's fine, but we should also set up GitHub to push all of this code off of our computer onto GitHub for safekeeping. So that's what we're going to do now. So to do that, this takes a couple of different steps. The first thing we need to do is create an SSH key. This is just a security key that allows us to connect to GitHub from our terminal securely, right? So to do that, we need to create a new directory where our SSH key is. So I'm going to move backwards in my project and get out of my deactivate my virtual environment. And now you just want to cd into the tilde and then this /. The tilde is a little squiggly line. It's usually at the top left-hand corner of your keyboard. And when you do that, it moves us back into our default directory. That's what this tilde / thing does. We're changing into our default directory, which is C users flat planet. It'll be C users, whatever your computer is called, or whatever your logged in name is. So, okay, so we're in the right place now. Users flat planet. Now we want to create a directory. So to do that, we type in mkdir and then type .ssh. So we're creating a directory called SSH, but the dot in front of it means it's hidden. And we want to hide this directory because it's going to hold our SSH key. It's just sort of standard practice to do that. All right, now we need to change into that directory. So cd.ssh. And if we type in pwd, we see sure enough, we're in that directory. Also, you notice it's right here. So, okay, if we type in ls, there's nothing in this directory yet. We just created it. So, all right, clear the screen. Now we need to generate our SSH key. And this used to be really hard, but it's really easy with this Git Bash terminal. It comes with a little key generator that does it for us. So we could just type in ssh-keygen.exe. And it's saying, all right, we're going to generate a public-private RSA key pair. Where do you want to save this? Well, I just want to save it right here in this directory, in this .ssh directory. So I'll just hit enter. So now it's asking for a password. Now this is kind of silly to me. This is an SSH key. It's already kind of secure. I don't feel the need to create a password for this. You can if you want to. You're going to have to remember it though, because GitHub's going to ask you for it every time you push your code up there forever. I just don't think you need it. If you do type it right now and you actually start typing right now, nothing will appear on the screen. It'll be blank. But don't worry, it's actually typing it in. That's just a security function feature. So enter password if you want to. I don't want to. I don't recommend that you do necessarily. So instead, I'm just going to hit enter. It asks for the same password again. I'll hit enter again. And boom, now it's created my SSH key. So if we now ls, we see there's these two files, id_rsa and id_rsa.pub. The .pub one is the one that we're interested in. That's the one that we're going to put up on GitHub in order to verify our account and connect securely and all that stuff. So to grab that file right now, we can just type in cat and then id_rsa.pub. And then it spits it out on the screen. This is your SSH key, all of this sort of gobbledygook. So highlight it all from the very top to the very bottom and right click and copy. So now we want to head over to github.com and my account is github.com/flatplanet. You might see a little button here. If you look at this thing, I'm logged in, so it doesn't show it to me, but it says follow. If you want to follow me on GitHub, go ahead and do that. I don't know what the benefit of that is, but some people do it. So if you want to do that, go ahead. But go ahead and sign up for an account. It's totally free. And when you do, log in and then click on this repositories button. Well, actually first, let's go back. Before we do that, we need to add our SSH key. So come over here to your little picture guy or whatever and click on the arrow and go to settings. And then inside of settings, look for SSH and GPG keys and then add a new key. So you can just call this anything you want. I'm just going to call it whatever. It doesn't matter. And now right click and paste in all of that SSH key that we just copied. So go ahead and click the button. It might ask you for your password. Yeah, sure enough. But if you just logged in, it might not. No big deal. So you're done. So your SSH key has been added. So now what we need to do is I need to navigate back to my project. So let's see, that was in C, fake project. Yeah, now I need to turn back on my virtual environment. You won't have to do this unless you're working with Django, but I am, so I have to activate it. And then I want to CD into my actual project. And you can see as soon as I do, boom, this master thing pops right back up. That lets me know I'm in the right spot, and it lets me know that Git has still been turned on and is still working and all that good stuff. I can ls to make sure, yep, I'm in the right place. So now we need to connect to our GitHub account from our terminal. So how do we do that? Head back over to GitHub and just go back to, your main area, your main account, and see this repositories. We need to create a repository for our new project here on GitHub. You notice I have 46 repositories. You won't have any, but whatever. Click the new button. And what did we call? I'm calling this Twitterly, I think. Oh, that has already been created on my account. Twitterly too. Call it anything you want. And notice right here, you can make your repository public or private. You used to have to pay to make it private, but you don't anymore because Microsoft recently bought GitHub and now everything is free because, Microsoft. I recommend you just keep it public unless you're doing like a super secret startup or you don't want your code to be available to the public. Nobody cares about your code. Nobody's going to be searching for GitHub for code to steal and stuff. So I always just keep it public. But again, I'm teaching this stuff and I want my students to be able to see my code. So whatever's appropriate for you, go ahead and click. And now just click Create Repository. So this creates the repository. Now there's two more things we need to do to sort of connect our terminal to our GitHub repository here. So, and that's right here. We need to push an existing repository from the command line. That's what we have right now. We have at our terminal right here, we already have a repository we created, a few minutes ago. We need to push that up from the command line, but terminal, this thing right here. So to do that, we just copy these two commands one at a time and paste them in. So copy and paste. Okay, and then one more. This last one actually pushes our code up to GitHub for the first time. Now later on, we'll issue a different command to push our code, but right now, this is the one we want. And Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Boom, boom, boom. It's pushing up our code and we're done. So now we can come back to our account, click on repositories. See, now I have 47, I had 46, and boom, here's our code right here. And here it is. We've got posts. You can see here it says initial commit next to all of these. That's that little description we typed in, right? And we're done. So, okay, we've done it for the first time. What about into the future? How do we push our code up? And when should we save our code to GitHub? Git doesn't save your code automatically. You have to tell it to save the code. You have to commit your code every time you want to commit your code. When should you do that? Well, you should do it whenever you're about to do something big and new in your code. So if you're just making little tweaks, I wouldn't maybe necessarily save my code to GitHub until you're done at the end of the day and then push all your code up there. But if you're working on like a major new section of code, save your code to GitHub before you do that and then save it after, right? Big things. But I don't have any big things because this is a fake thing. So instead, I'm just gonna, let's see, I'm in my Django project here. Let's create a new file. Let's save it as urls.py. I'm going to grab my old urls.py file, copy it, paste it into this new one. And we don't really need this. And then I'm going to say boom, and then I'm going to go views dot, we'll just leave it, it doesn't matter. Leave it all like this. Save this file. Okay, so I've made a major new change to my code, right? Now, how do I commit this? How do I save it to my Git repository locally? How do I push it up to my GitHub account, my GitHub repository on the internet? Well, let's do that real quick. Okay, so come to our terminal. Let's clear the screen here. And it's the same steps. Git add period to add everything in our directory here. Okay, then git commit -am and then give it a message. Added new urls.py file, right? Whatever, just a little descriptive thing to explain what we did to the code. And you'll notice this time only one file was changed because we only changed one file, right? So Git sort of understands that intrinsically and does that. So now we've saved it locally. Now we need to push it up to GitHub. How do we do that? This is new. Well, from now on, we just type in Git Push. That's it. That's pushing our code up to GitHub, and boom, we're done. Now we can come back here and hit reload, and you can notice right here in our post section, there's that new description I just typed in. You'll notice these don't have that new description. Why? None of the files in these areas changed. Only something in this post directory changed. And if you'll notice, of all the files in our post directory, we only actually modified one, this one right here. So that's what I mean by at a glance, you can see changes you've made in your code based on these little descriptions. So be descriptive when you're committing your code because it is kind of handy to see this. And when we click on this, we can see, yep, sure enough, there's that file I just modified. And that's it. So that's Git, that's GitHub. Pretty easy. I mean, it's kind of convoluted to set it up for the first time. You got to copy and paste those 5 commands, but you just copy and paste the 5 commands and then you move on. It's not that hard. It's just something you always have to do. And then to save your code, it's always just those 3 commands: git add period, git commit -am, and then give your little description, and then git push. And you're good to go. You're set up with GitHub. You're set up with Git locally. If your house burns down, if your computer gets stolen or destroyed, or your girlfriend throws it out the window because she's mad at you or whatever, your code is nice and safe on GitHub, and it's just pretty cool. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, and check out Codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube to get $22 off membership. You pay just $27 to access all my courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 50,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and we'll see you in the next video.